Good afternoon. I'd like to call to order the January 24th meeting of the Transportation Access Advisory Committee. And we'll begin with Gary leading us in the Pledge of Allegiance. So please stand.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Gary. I think I needed to remind people that this meeting will be videotaped and all future meetings will be videotaped, so smile. Okay, citizens' comments, and this is an opportunity for anyone in the audience to speak to an item that is on today's agenda. And limit your talk to 3 minutes. If you are interested, please come to the podium or ask us to bring you a microphone. So is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak at this point on something that is on the agenda?
Over here.
John, is it on the agenda?
Yes, but I can't find what it was.
Can we catch you at the second
Well-
citizens' comment?
You know,
Madam Chair, well,
yeah, I'll just speak at the end.
Madam Chair, Dan Howland, RTC. Staff would like to make the recommendation that we remove the item from presentations, that is the proposed plan to enhance the online booking product and interactive voice response system. Staff is still working on this, and we will have a presentation in the future.
What number?
Well, I can't find out.
Number 8.
Number 8?
Find the page that she was for.
Did everyone hear that? That item number 8 is being moved from the agenda today?
Okay.
Cool. Thank you, Dan. So is there anyone that would like to speak at this point? Hearing none, we will move forward. And the next thing on the agenda is to approve the minutes of the November 15th meeting, 15th, 2017. I'll entertain a motion to approve.
So moved, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Dan. Any additions or corrections to the minutes as they were presented? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay? Cool. What did I miss? Right. Okay. Once again, I moved right along past something. So we are going to rearrange just a minute, and we're going to have a video on RTC's 25th anniversary. And so, who's going to start? Okay, cool. If you haven't seen it, it's wonderful.
Cool.
pretty remarkable short history, huh? I think it's very cool. All right, let's see where we are. All right, now we're at the consent agenda, I think. Items 4 and 5 are on the consent agenda. I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved, Madam Chair.
Okay, we have a motion to approve. If anyone would like to address items in either 4 or 5, you need to say so now, and we'll remove it from the consent agenda. Anyone want to remove something from the consent agenda? Okay, hearing none, then all in favor of approving it, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, great. Item number 6 is discussion of the pilot program for the Transportation Network Service for Paratransit.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, and excuse me about that, and committee members. My name is Antoinette Braddock with the RTC, Contract Services Supervisor, and I am back again to give you an update of where we are with our pilot program. We are excited to announce that we will be taking our 2 contracts to the RTC board on February 8th with a launch date of February 12th, so we're really excited. So it's been a little bit of a process. You've seen me here, I think, since July. So we are happy to announce that we have about 50 participants who have taken the opportunities that we've offered to participate in the program, and we'll keep reaching out to some other folks with the intent of getting a maximum of about 200 clients, but we're going to work with what we have right now. So there's not much else to say. We've done a lot of outreach events. We continue to contact the initial pilot group pool via email and through paper letters, and my team and I, we are on the phone almost every day, either talking to the folks we've invited or answering questions. We've also had a good level of inquiries through our website of folks that aren't even in our initial pilot pool, which is good because that shows the interest, which we knew was out there. Once we get approval and we launch, we will continue the outreach, and we'll actually incorporate some surveys to really see how the pilot is going, how everybody's doing with their rides, their experience, and make sure it is reaching the clients we want it to reach and meeting the successes that we anticipate. So with that, I'll answer any questions if you have them. Mr.
So when you launch February 12th, will it be open to all riders?
It's a great question. The answer is no, unfortunately. It will just be the small pilot group that we've invited. So as a reminder, it's a 6-month pilot with a select group of folks that we've invited. So we want the pilot group to be small so that we can follow the clients, see what their ridership looks like, make sure that we have everything in line that we need to have in line. Everything that we have thought about is actually, a good experience for the customer. And once we determine if, those successes are happening, then we'll have bigger conversations in the future. So to answer your question directly, it will not. We will just have that small group of folks. But stay tuned.
Madam Chair, Dan Howland, if I could say something in regards to getting to this point. Antoinette Braddock is the project manager that was assigned to this. This has been about an 18-month endeavor to get to this point to launch this. So I want to thank Antoinette for all the hard work she's done to this point, getting these contracts to our board in the next 2 weeks for approval and getting us to launch this upon their approval, of course. But it's been a lot of work, and she has been working tirelessly on it. So thank you for that. And of course, no pressure on the results that we get from this pilot, which, to speak to what Havander just asked, to echo what and add to what Antoinette said, This is also going to give us an opportunity by having a small group of individuals to work out the kinks and possibly add this into the larger service model in some shape or form. So we're excited about this pilot and what we're going to be able to do with it. So thank you, Antoinette.
Any other questions for Antoinette?
You did a good job. Keep it up.
Thank you. Thanks.
Thank you, Antoinette. All right, item 7 is, this is mobility device securement. This is the section on, okay, and Jim Champeau will be speaking to us.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the committee. My name is Jim Champeau. I'm the Transit Mobility Supervisor for the RTC. So I'm here today to talk to you a little bit about training that I attended at the end of last year, put on by the Q-Straint Corporation down in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Q-Straint is the company that makes all of these securements for wheelchairs and passengers that go inside of all of our transportation vehicles. So first thing I wanted to talk a little bit about is the RTC's commitment to safety. So the RTC wants to ensure that all passengers are transported safely, number one, ensure all passengers with mobility devices are secured properly, and ensure that all vehicles comply with the most recent safety standards. So part of this training that we went through, we learned about regulations and proper securement techniques, and myself and one of my staff, Danielle Silva, were certified as trainers for Q-Straint to be able to make sure that we are doing what we're supposed to be doing on our end. We deal a lot with people with disabilities that use mobility devices every day, and we install those yellow securement straps that I've showed you before the last time that I was here onto their mobility devices. So we want to make sure that we are doing the right thing and installing them in the right way when we do so. So I'm going to talk a little bit about one of the new standards that came out that we discussed when we were at the training. So prior to 2000, there was a securement standard for wheelchair wheelchair tie downs and occupant restraint systems that was put together by Society of Automotive Engineers. It was called SAE J2249. So what that was the first crash testing that was done with any occupant restraints that goes inside of a passenger transportation vehicle. So any securements that were in the vehicle had to be crash tested at a 30 mile per hour 20 G impact, so 20 times the weight of a person's own mass plus the weight of the wheelchair, which equals at testing about 450 pounds. So that has been a standard for as long as we can remember. But what the problem with that is that only covered the occupant restraints in the vehicle. It did not cover the actual wheelchair itself. So there was a big piece of the puzzle that was missing. So back in the early 2000s, there was talk between the American National Standards Institute and the Rehabilitation Engineering and Assistive Technology Society in North America, so ANSI and RESNA. And what they wanted to was work together to come with a complete package to be able to protect both the wheelchair and the occupant inside one of the vehicles. So in 2000, they started talking about this, and what they came up with was the idea of what's called WC19. So WC19 is a voluntary standard. Now, this isn't something that transportation companies have to do, but it is a voluntary standard, and what this does is this was the first crash testing of wheelchairs, or the idea of crash testing a wheelchair. So this regulates the design and crash testing of wheelchair-using vehicles, and it looks at 4 crash-tested securement points on a wheelchair. Along with this, when you have a wheelchair that is crash-tested, what this is going to do is going to put an increased load on the securements that are inside of a transit vehicle. So what they had to do was looking at creating a lap belt on one of the wheelchairs that was also crash tested that a person could use. Instead of using the seat belts and the shoulder belts that were inside of the vehicle as a unit, they can now use their own lap belt on their own wheelchair. Currently, if anybody that has a non-WC19 wheelchair, the lap belt on one of those or on a scooter is just for posture. It's not been crash tested. It's not to be used on one of our vehicles. So I'm going to move to the center here so I can kind of describe this a little bit better and kind of give you a visual. So we were lucky enough to have a business that's down the street from the Mobility Training Center. The Ability Center loaned me one of their WC19 compliant chairs, so I could bring it in here today and show you the difference. So the WC19 chair, on the side of it, has these crash-tested securement points, and you can easily find those with a yellow sticker with a closed hook on them. So there's 4 points on this that have been crash-tested and bolted right to the frame. These are crash tested at that same 30-mile-per-hour impact or 20 G, so like hitting a brick wall at 30 miles an hour. And these will hold up. So part of that, as up on the PowerPoint is showing, a person can use their own lap belt. So now what this does for us is it speeds up our boarding process for someone using a mobility device. So instead of a driver having to come up and hook up all of their belts, now they can use their own belt, and there's a pin on the end of this seat belt. So now all a driver has to do when a person gets on is take the shoulder belt, pull it across, and attach it to this pin. And a person is 100% secured in a vehicle, okay? So we talked a little bit about what that does to our vehicles and the extra tension that provides. One more. There we go. So the WC18 is similar testing requirements to the SAE 2249, so that 30 mile per hour 20 G impact. Piedens must now secure the wheelchair with an integrated lap belt and then increase the loads on our retractors inside the vehicles by 60%. So the manufacturer, these are our old retractors that are inside all of our vehicles now. Okay? This is the new retractor, the QRT 360. So as you can see, it's a lot bigger and holds 60% more force in the event of a front-end collision. You can also see that belts are a lot beefier and the hooks are a lot bigger as well. So this is going to make sure that in the event of a crash, that the occupant and the chair are going to be secured properly. Again, we talked a little bit about the QRT 360, meets safety standards of the WC18, accommodates WC19 wheelchairs with an integrated lap belt, stronger than any previous retractor, and it's 4-point, fully automatic, and self-tensioning. Okay? So, in summary, the increased WC19 compliant retails will result in an easier, quicker, safer securement and reduced liability for the company. Increase is happening slowly or inorganically. So of these chairs out there right now, I would say probably 5% of chairs that are out in the field right now are WC19 compliant, but we're going to start seeing a lot more of them because the VA last year has made an announcement that from this point on, they are only buying WC19 compliant chairs for veterans. So we will be seeing much more of these out there. So we want to stay ahead of the curve with that. WC18 is now becoming the new industry standard. So wheelchair tied down an occupant restraint system, or what they call WTORs, will need to comply, or a transit agency could face increased liability. So as of January 2017, approximately half the state DOTs have made change in their latest specs to be able to include WC18 and WC19. So what does that mean for the RTC? The new RTC Paratransit Vehicle Contract. Contract 17044 entered manufacturing at Laval in Indiana on 12/18 of 2017. RTC will start accepting 3 vehicles a week starting March 1st, 2018. The build will include 40 26-foot Laval E450s and 1 31-foot Laval F550. All vehicles will be WC18 compliant from here on out. Okay, so the RTC is staying ahead of the curve. And I want to personally thank Randy Brown and his team for leading the way on this and making sure that our clients are going to be transported safely. Does anybody have any questions?
Are there any questions for Jim?
When you speak of, oh, I'm sorry.
John, let us just check with the folks here at the table. Any questions from anyone here?
Oh,
Gary.
who's that? I see all the time on television, they cut their car
time, they test cars,
with a dummy.
they use a dummy for the crash
I wanted, they used to touch it with a dummy on a real cell.
was it a similar
Yeah, I like to see that film.
I'd love to see the film.
Yeah, they have, you can go onto Qstrain's website, the company that actually makes the retractors, and they have built a test facility over in England that runs on a pneumatic cylinder, and they can simulate about every kind of crash that there is. But yes, they put dummies inside of their wheelchairs, secure them in there, and measure the force on them.
Madam Chair,
Yes. First I have Dan, and then I have Vander.
you said that right now there's only 5% compliance with the new standards nationwide?
There's only about 5% of the WC19 compliant wheelchairs out there.
That's all that is available, or is that all that the people are saying they're going to do?
That's all that people have bought so far. This is the actual wheelchair themselves.
Do you have any idea or indication as far as a timeline where that compliance is going to accelerate over the next few years nationwide?
We've seen it probably within 2018. I would say it would easily probably quadruple. There was never really any push behind it because when it first started out at the beginning of last year, when a lot of the transit agencies start switching over to WC18, nobody had the equipment on the buses to even handle this. So now that the transit agencies are starting to switch to this, now people are seeing the benefit in buying them.
Do you have any idea what one of these units costs?
This one right here is around $4,500.
Okay, that's what I figured, about $5,000.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Vander?
Is there a way that we can get this, report to Ralph? He's not here today.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
He would be very interested in that.
He would.
Really?
Absolutely.
Jim, I have a question. Once we start installing the new system of securement, it can still handle, it'll still be the seatbelt and
Yeah.
shoulder strap that work with all the other wheels.
Yep, so what happens is if you have a non-WC19 chair, they use the current setup that's in the vehicle. So they can use the lap belts, the shoulder belt, just the same. So nothing's different. The only benefit to this one is that if you have a WC19 compliant chair, then all you have to do is use the shoulder belt, because you have your own lap belt, and it's going to be fitted to your personal self. So that way, it's going to sit properly on your waist, and it's going to work well. Lastly, Randy has come up with this signage that's going to be installed on all the paratransit vehicles, and it shows proper securement technique for both WC19 chairs and non-WC19 chairs. So this is, again, not something that we have to do by law, but it's the right thing to do. So it's going to make sure that the drivers
Can I
have
see
all
that?
the information to be
just
able
wanna
to
see
secure a person
something.
properly. The manufacturer will give you those if you ask for them, but it's a chintzy looking little sticker that goes on the bottom of the seat, and they'll be gone and picked away in less than a week. So he's had these custom made and has put both systems on there, and it's a great thing.
Very good.
Thank
Any
you.
other questions for Jim? Okay, thanks, Jim.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, now we're having a report on the first paratransit satisfaction survey, and I guess Dan is doing that.
Yes. Okay, Madam Chair, fellow committee members, Dan Howland, RTC Paratransit. And I am very pleased to talk about Paratransit's first Paratransit Customer Satisfaction Survey that was conducted last October, November by a vendor called TransPro, who's actually been doing our fixed route customer satisfaction survey. They just completed their 9th wave. So this is our first wave, and so everybody knows, we do not have anything to compare these results to, but we will be conducting another survey in May. So, and I can tell you that we had over 370 people respond to this survey. The majority of them were via phone call, and then we did probably in the neighborhood of 30 at outreaches that included Opportunity Village, Blind Connect, and an adult daycare. So I am going to go through these slides, and for everybody's benefit, so they know what I'm talking about, I'm going to read some of them, and then I will add commentary as well as to what my thoughts and what we plan on doing with these results. So customer characteristics, again, over 370 people responded. We had 69% of our customers that primarily used the service for medical appointments. And then 46% of caretakers said that RTC's customers and their loved ones were using the service primarily for transportation to and from work. No big surprises there. Age-wise, 70% of our customers that were responded to this survey are 50 years of age or older, and 40% are above the age of 65. Customer impressions and satisfaction. So I was very pleased with this, as Kenny Rodriguez should be, our efforts here to get customer expectations to think about the window. So 96% of survey respondents are aware of RTC's pickup window guidelines. That's between 5 minutes before and 25 minutes after the scheduled pickup time. So we have been trying to, we haven't been trying to, we've actually done it, and we've modified the customer's expectations with respect to this, as opposed to giving them a time, specific time they get the window. So on-time performance, 79% of respondents agree that RTC picks them or their customer up within the scheduled pickup window. So that's very important, that 30-minute window I just talked about. Most 80% of folks feel that they're picked up within that window, and I'll talk more about that with other slides. On-time performance, 59% of respondents feel it is acceptable, this was very interesting to me, for a vehicle to arrive between 0 and 10 minutes beyond its scheduled pickup window. So that's up to 40 minutes after the window starts. I can tell you one person who's not happy with that, and that's Dan Howland. But it's encouraging that 59% of the folks that responded to this said that was within reason. Clearly, they understand that providing 5,000 trips a day and the logistics that go into that, there are variables that are not within our control. And to meet a 95% on-time performance standard every day is tops in the industry, and that's what we strive for. So that we have a very good group of customers that understand that we might be outside that window sometimes is good news to hear. Service coverage and trip scheduling, we'll cover this in a few slides. Service coverage, 94% of respondents agree that RTC can take them to the places they need to go. 97% of caretakers said that we take them where they need to go, so that was very good as well. Trip scheduling, 86% of respondents agree that they can schedule a trip for the time they need to travel. And then 82% of respondents agree that scheduling a trip is easy and convenient. Let me just add one comment about this, and I think there's another slide that I'll comment about it on. We start our day at 7 o'clock, we end our day in the 6 o'clock range in the call center, and we get a lot of calls when the phones open at 7 o'clock, and we get a lot of calls right before the phones close for the day. And one of the things that Kenny Rodriguez and I and staff have talked about is trying to work with customers who we understand are anxious. They feel they need to get the best time, they need to get that call in immediately. There's some anxiety around that. But we don't have 150 reps taking calls at 7 in the morning, nor should we. We're taking calls throughout the entire day. So we're going to try to do some campaign to encourage customers that they don't need to worry about that they can call in at any time of the day, and they're going to be able to get a ride, and it would probably increase these numbers a little bit because they'd be getting through in a quicker fashion. Boarding and riding the vehicle, This has to do with safety and the conditions of the vehicle, cleanliness, et cetera, and vehicle lifts and ramps. So boarding, 97% of respondents agree that they feel safe when boarding the vehicle. That's great news. 93% of respondents agree that they feel safe when riding the vehicle. Those are high numbers, great numbers. Obviously, be interesting to know why the other 7% may not feel as safe riding, but as we go through surveys, we will explore those type of ways to ask that question. But those are very high marks. 98% of respondents agree that vehicle lifts and ramps are consistently in working order. And as you know, in past recent meetings, TAAC meetings, we've talked about lifts, had presentations I've given myself, and the stats do show with our robust PM programs that TransDev and the RTC Fleet Department have that we take really great care of these lifts, and the customers recognize that. 97% of respondents agree that the vehicles are clean, and they are. They do a very nice job keeping these vehicles clean. Coming from back east this time of year, we couldn't keep the slush and snow off the vehicles, so they've got their challenges here with the heat, but they do a great job keeping these vehicles clean. And then this one was great. 90% of respondents agree that the vehicles are comfortable. Years ago, as Jim Champeau was mentioning, Randy Brown and Havander mentioned Ralph Steele, who's part of this TAAC committee. They worked on improving the suspensions of the vehicles for those folks who are riding in wheelchair securement locations in the back. With a vehicle like a Cutaway, that's not an easy task to do, but to hear 90% of respondents say that they feel the vehicles are comfortable, those are high marks. So driver performance, this is a big one. Friendliness, helpfulness, safety, and overall performance. 90% of respondents agree that drivers are friendly, helpful, and drive safely. Those are very hard marks and they are consistent with what I see, and very pleased with this feedback from the customers. It says a lot about TransDev and their training program. You're going to hear a little bit about that from Sandy Neely, their quality assurance manager, in a moment about sensitivity, which I believe one of the TAAC committee members requested more information on sensitivity training. I know I'm digressing a little bit, and I think it was Nancy Brune who brought it up, so Sandy's here to talk about that after me. Driver performance, 66% of respondents report having a mobility device. Of those respondents with a mobility device, 97% report that the drivers help secure the device. Okay, that's a great number, 97. But I want it to be 100%. We need everybody secured, and if you don't feel you're being secured, we need to know that too. It's safety is paramount. So, but still a great number. And I can just add to this that I do know somebody might not feel that they've been secured, because sometimes you'll see these devices come on the vehicle and folks will have all their earthly possessions attached to that mobility device. It makes it very difficult for a driver to properly secure the vehicle. So certainly encourage folks to maybe leave the dining room set home. Just a little joke there. Driver performance, 93% of respondents are satisfied with the overall performance of RTC drivers. And I can tell you from observations that I've made and staff and our quality assurance team have made, and with investigations due to complaints and things, the drivers have so much compassion, so much empathy, they care, they know customers on a first-name basis. That's why this number is so high. They take the time and they do a really terrific job. So great numbers there. Customer care rep performance, something near and dear to Kenny Rodriguez's and my heart. A lot of work and effort has gone into this, and these numbers show that. So we're going to talk a little bit about customer care reps. 91% of respondents agree that customer care reps are both friendly and helpful. What do people do when they call us? They want to get their ride, they want to get it quick, and they want somebody that's knowledgeable taking their call and scheduling their ride air-free, and that's the goal, and it's happening. So those are great numbers. 91% said customer care reps are helpful, and 89% said they're knowledgeable. 76% of respondents agree that their calls are answered promptly when contacting RTC customer care. And again, I'd say that opening the day calls are heavy, and at the end of the day, and if customers, we try to encourage them to call during the middle of the day, I think we could get this number a little bit higher, but overall, this is a very, very, very good number. People are getting through quick. Our service level, answering calls is very high, meaning we're answering calls within 3 minutes. It's very, very good. So nearly half, 42% of respondents report contacting RTC with a question, concern, or complaint in the last 3 months, and of those, 68% report that their issue was resolved. You might say, oh my God, 68%, that's not very high, but all complaints and concerns are not valid. What do I mean by that? I could call you and complain that you were not within the window, the 30-minute window. We go back and investigate that and find we arrived 10 minutes within the window. Now that 10 minutes may have seemed like an hour to you, but the fact of the matter remains that the complaint was not valid. Doesn't mean we don't want to hear about it, but that's what lends itself to those numbers. You got a response, it just wasn't that your complaint was valid. Customer care rep performance, 87% of respondents are satisfied with the overall performance of RTC customer care reps, and that's great, great news. Overall satisfaction with RTC Paratransit, 88% of respondents are satisfied with Paratransit service, and that's also great news. Very high numbers, certainly room for improvement, and a lot of things that I commented on are areas where we can do that. So talking a little bit about some things that we picked up from the survey on fixed route, ride check, and communication preferences. More than half, 52% of respondents indicate that they or the customers they care for have not previously ridden the fixed route bus service. No surprise there. Of respondents who have never used the fixed route service, 63% are aware that RTC Paratransit customers can ride the fixed route buses free of charge. And then 9% of those respondents would consider using fixed route if travel training was provided. And we have someone who just spoke, Jim Champeau and his team, that do that. And we actually got the list of those names, and Jim and his staff contacted those people, and we've signed up a couple for assessments for travel training, so we're excited about that. With this, I would add that, you know, folks say to me, well, why are you giving free paratransit rides to, or fixed route rides to paratransit customers? The idea behind that is the RTC obviously saves money doing that, but first and foremost, it adds a level of convenience to an individual, not having to call in, maybe they're on a bus line, and let me explain that. I could be a paratransit customer eligible because I have a hard time getting to where I need to go for medical appointments from my job, but maybe I'm on a bus line and Smith's is right down the street and the 206 on Charleston runs right by my house and I can grab it and get on, and I don't have to call in and schedule a ride and so forth. That's just added, we can train you to do that, and that just adds a level of options for your transportation needs. And you know, you obviously can take your paratransit rides where you need to go for work and medical appointments. So that's what the whole idea behind offering the free fixed route to paratransit customers is. It is not for the purpose of them solely riding fixed route service exclusively. Ride check, more than half, 57% of respondents indicate that they are aware of ride check. And of those 57% who are aware, just 21% of them use the system. So about 10% of our rides are being booked on ride check. And then of the respondents who are either aware of ride check and do not use it or were not aware of ride check, 22% indicated they'd be interested. And Kenny Rodriguez and his team have contacted those individuals and actually signed up some of them. And then some, when they were gotten a hold of, they said, no, I'd rather call in because your customer service reps are so friendly. Communication, 71%, this is very interesting of respondents, but not surprising, including the majority of customers who responded prefer to receive information about RTC policies, news, and community via snail mail, postal mail. And then 70% of respondents prefer receiving information via email. So we've got some work to do, and based on the age of our respondents, not surprising that they would like the U.S. Postal Service. But hopefully we'll see an increase in that email number. So the road forward, we talked about ride check. We contacted those individuals. We'll continue to do promotions on ride check. You may have noticed in Paratransitions that we focus on things to encourage people to look at the website and possibly use ride check via crossword puzzles and things like that. So we're trying different things to get people interested in checking things out. Mobility training, Jim and his staff contacted those individuals. You know, there's room for, and it's totally voluntary, but if we can help somebody increase their transportation options, we want to do that. Fixed route, not everybody's aware that we do provide mobility training, and we continue to promote that. Age of customers, 70% over the age of 50. We have, it runs the gamut, but that's a large part of our customer base, and we have to keep that in mind as we do promote things for the paratransit service. And then hold times, as I said, hey, if we can get people to, you know, not be so worried about when they call in or having to call in immediately, we can probably improve those times for the satisfaction times with respect to hold times. And then overall performance, I got to say, for our first wave of customer satisfaction survey, high marks for Paratransit and our contractor, really excited about that. So that concludes my remarks. Appreciate you listening to me. Very pleased with the results and can't wait to share with you the results of the survey that we do in May. Any questions?
Just real quick question, Madam Chair.
Yeah, Dan.
The 5,000 paratransit trips per day, do you have any idea what the percentage of those are subscription rate routes?
It's a great question off the top of my head. I'm going to say in the neighborhood of 20 to 25%.
20 to 25%, okay. The reason I'm asking is because somebody asked me.
Right. And I'll follow up for you, Dan, to give you an exact number. But, you know, the idea behind the subscriptions is it's convenient for an individual who's taking a trip regularly that they don't have to call in all the time. And we can build our scheduling templates around that, and that helps.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Dan?
Keep up a good job.
Yeah.
Thank you, Gary. I just wish I could tell you about the airplanes that are spraying the fields. I don't know anything about that. All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan. Good job for you and your staff and Trans staff. Okay, next on the agenda is a report from TransDev about their training program, sensitivity training program, and Sandy Neely is going to be speaking, I think. Yep.
Okay. Good afternoon, Madam Chair. Good afternoon to all the TAAC committees. Good afternoon to all the presenters that presented before me, and good afternoon to everybody that's in this room today. My name is Sandy Neely. I am the Quality Assurance Manager for TransDev. I want to thank you for allowing me today to talk about a very important topic, and that is sensitivity training. This is a fact, Madam Chair. About 54 million people in the United States have some type of disability, whether it's a disability that comes from birth or by an accident. But not all disabilities can be seen with the naked eye. All people are different. What is important to remember is that we all are different and need to be recognized for which we can do, not for what we may require aid to accomplish. The best way is to help everyone is for people to understand and respect all people, whether they are the same or different. So what is sensitivity training? Sensitivity training is a form of training with the goal of making people more aware of their own goals as well as their prejudice and more sensitive to others and the dynamics of group interactions. The purpose of TransDev sensitivity training is to educate employees about disabilities, but also provide them with the knowledge on how to carry out tasks regarding disabilities. People can learn about disability awareness through classes, training courses, or from a person with disabilities. Gaining acceptance is essential, but employees, businesses, and organizations must also understand compliance with the ADA. It is Transdev's goal to teach and continually educate our workforce about diversity and inclusion. As an ADA transport provider, it is paramount that we continue our efforts to cultivate a safe, compassionate, and inclusive work group. Our sensitivity training is geared to educate employees about disabilities, as well as provide them with the correct tools and resources for carrying out their daily operating tasks. Our ridership and workforce encompass a disabled community to include various backgrounds and beliefs. So, our sensitivity training starts on day one. The first day, all the new hires, they're all in one room. Our Transdev managers, we come out and we meet everyone. And we talk about our expectations, we talk about our vision, our purpose, and our goals. Our general manager, he explains that safety is number one. He always say safety, safety, safety. But however, he still says that if a person has care and compassion in their heart, they're going to always perform the job as best as they can, as safe as possible. They would never not untie a wheelchair. They would never be rude to a person, because that's just compassion. The training class is about 5 weeks. In 3 of those days, our human resources department is in there, and they're talking about sensitivity training, and they're talking about the ADA laws. It's a part of the syllabus. It's like our playbook. It's like our creed. All the employees, they must sign off on it. So if they do break any of our laws or our policies, then they will be held accountable for that. During the first week, RTC Quality Assurance Team, they come and they talk about their expectations. They talk about RTC vision, their purpose, and their goals as well. During that week as well, Transdev Quality Assurance Team, we come in there as well, and we talk about customer dynamics, putting yourself in the passenger's shoes. We do a lot of role playing with real life things that actually happen on the vehicles. And it's more of like a situation like, what would you do? Like, what would you do if this happens? And all that is being role played and also discussed. Okay, without an expert's help, training our employees to deal with such a wide-ranging and severe issues might be difficult. Transdev Human Resource Department, Safety Department has implemented an expert to facilitate a sensitivity training program that explains workforce etiquette and responsibility regarding disability issues. Employees are allowed to ask the expert any questions that they might have. So what do? We went out and we looked for an expert. You can't just look for any expert. We like to look for the best. So we found the best. And who is the best?
Gene,
A lady named Jean Payton.
it's a good picture. No, it's good.
And Jean Payton, she is the president of the Blind Connect and is the chairperson of Angela House. And Jean Payton, she's like a celebrity in town. And what I mean by that, sometimes I have to go to different agencies and we have to take questions and answers. And sometimes the agencies, the people in there, they want to ask you some questions and you're like, oh, it's like a firing squad. And I was at the Blind Center and I'm asking questions and this one lady, she was very vocal. And I mentioned Jean Payton's name. She's like, oh, you know Jean Payton? I'm like, oh yeah, Jean Payton. We go way back. Me and Jean Payton, we grew up together. And then what happened? She started her questions, it was like a softening. Everything was calm. Because Jean Payton, her name is carried so good in the community. When you shake her hand, you know that you met somebody. You ever shook somebody's hand, you know once you leave that you actually met somebody? That's a good feeling. So what Jean Payton does, you can play the video. I'm going to kind of show you what she do when she comes to the class for us.
We have some assumptions about the passengers that you're carrying. So if they're from a certain facility, you go, oh, they must be, and if they're from somewhere else, oh, they must be. But you really don't know why people are on paratransit. People are certified because, not because of their disability, but because of their inability to access fixed route transportation safely. Because if you're really overly stressed, you're not going to be doing your job well.
And we never, 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 never take a blind person. All mobility devices that are on paratransit have what they call tie-down straps, and they're on the mobility device so that you, as the driver, can just hook a strap to this one, hook it here, move around, you've got it secured properly. What I'm going to say is that please, please, give and respect on the passengers. Notice I say give. If you are disrespectful to somebody, that's exactly what you're doing back. If you lose to them, that's exactly what you're doing back. And so just give and respect yourself. And life will go up.
Where's the business?
And so in that class, it was like about 29 people in there. And Jean Payton, her class is filled with role playing, right? So she'd make everybody put these blindfolds on. And she gives them activities. Back. So she gives them activities to do. So our drivers can understand what the visually impaired community has to go through when we're picking those guys up. So I'm gonna try to get to the next slide while I'm blindfolded. Did I get there?
No.
Okay, hold on. What about now? Okay, hold on. Right there?
It's not moving.
Okay, hold on. I'm at the peak. Okay. Okay, so what I want, if Mr. Howland, if he can read the first sentence.
Always make your presence known.
Okay, so Gene says that is important because when somebody walk up behind you and you're visually impaired, you get kind of nervous. I mean, kind of nervous now. I don't know who's behind me. Oh, yeah, now I'm really nervous. So I'm gonna go. Dan, can you read number 2?
Don't pet service animals.
Most people, when they see dogs, they just automatically want to start petting them. But we have to understand that those service animals are working at the time, and the person might think that that's rude. Number 3, Dan.
Talk directly to person.
Then you want to have the conversation with the person. You want to talk through them or through third party. Number 4,
Think before you speak.
you have to think before you say things. One day I was at the Blind Center, and without me thinking, I said, "Hey, it's so good to see you." And the response was, "Nice in your voice too, Sandy." And I just felt like, wow. So we have to think before we speak sometimes. Number 5, we're at.
Avoid grabbing their arm unless asked for assistance.
A visually impaired person, they don't want you just grabbing on them, just tugging on them, because they don't even know who you are. So you want to just ask them, "Hey, do you mind if I take your arm? Do you mind if you want to hold on to my arm so you won't fall down?" Number 6,
Don't make assumptions.
don't make assumptions just because this person you feel that is has some type of mental capacity that they don't understand what you're saying. That's what we tell our drivers.
And then respond graciously to requests.
Be polite. We tell our drivers, just be polite. And Jean, she actually taught me how to take this blindfold off. You just don't snatch it off. You have to hold your head down. Then you slowly take it off. You don't open your eyes right away. Okay, I'm back. Did I do that right, Jean?
You did.
All right.
Good job.
So Jean Payton, she does an awesome job. The class usually lasts for about 2 hours. Sometimes it go over, but we never know what time it's going to end until everybody starts cheering. Once the class starts clapping and going crazy, and people start following Jean, I know the class is over then. So another component that we added was Transit Quality Assurance Team and RTC Quality Assurance Team. We sometimes have to visit the agencies. Sometimes we have to deal with situations, small situations might just be changing the drop-off or pickup. Well, once we're at the agencies, we find out that either our drivers are doing something wrong, or the staff is at the agencies is misinformed or miseducated about what paratransit can or cannot do. So once we ran into that problem, you start meeting people at the agencies, and now you can hear their care, how they enjoy and love their clients, our passengers. So now we're like, wow, wait a minute. What if we can get together and you guys can tell our drivers how you feel about your clients? Maybe they might listen. Maybe that might be something that they need to hear. So we start doing it. Now we do that at Easter Seals, and we do that at Opportunity Village. Thank you, Janae. Awesome. So what do we do there? So we take the whole entire new hire class, and we have a classroom setting just like this. And Janae and her staff, they take their time and they educate our drivers. They have a conversation with them. They tell them what they expect, how they expect for our drivers to treat their clients. And that's fair. Oh, they also have food and stuff set up too. Nice little spread. We're talking about some fruit, maybe a little salad, tea, and coffee. And then they take them on a tour, and then they let all the drivers meet and greet not only their staff, but some of the clients and the passengers they'll be transporting. So immediately, our drivers have that contact. Our drivers have someone coming up to them like, oh, hey, bus driver, how you doing? You're going to be transporting me. You make that connection right away. They do a remarkable job. Yeah, put my glasses back on, everybody. And all that is part of this education. All that is part of sensitivity training. All that's part of just getting people to start caring. They don't have to do that. They do that because it's just the right thing to do. So even after a person is in revenue service, our drivers, they still have recurring training. We have safety meetings. We talk about sensitivity training and safety meetings. We got poster boards around. We got memos. We got a class called Going for Care. That's a 4-hour class session where we do a lot of role playing and more of like, what would you do and coming to work in the green. We do walk-arounds, and what that is, most managers and supervisors, they so busy in their office, and they stay in their office all day. They don't even come out. What our general manager, he wants us to do is walk around and talk to people, find out how their day going. Once you start talking to people and you have that one-on-one with them, maybe they can say, hey, this is what happened. Was I right or was I wrong? The passenger was being rude or I was being rude. You can have those conversations. A lot of people will talk to you more one-on-one than in a big group. And when the operator is actually doing the job. When you're actually doing the job and you're working with people with disabilities, they're going to have their own stories now. They're going to see some things and hear some conversations. That person might remind them of a loved one. That person might remind them of some of the things that they went through in their bodies. So when they're actually doing the job and they're at home late at night, they're thinking about what happened throughout the day, what conversations they had, who did they meet. Sometimes the person with the disability is affecting their lives, making them happy, or vice versa. Sometimes we think that we got a whole bunch of problems that's going on. But when you meet a person that's going through something that you can't even fathom, sometimes your problems just go away automatically. So once they actually start doing the job, that's part of their sensitivity training as well. This part right here is questions. But I'm going to ask one question that I know everybody's going to ask me right now. I already know it. Does sensitivity training work? Does it work? Does all this work? By bringing Gene Payton, bringing an expert in, going to go get Opportunity Village and Easter Seals, having them come and talk to the class and the new drivers and the experienced drivers, doing the walk-arounds, going for care, teaming up with RTC, There's all that work. If you would ask me that a while back, I always say that, you know, you can teach a person how to tie a wheelchair down, you can teach a person how to change a tire, drive the bus, but you can't teach a person how to care. I don't believe that no more. I just don't. Because I actually am doing the job. I'm actually seeing the compliments. I'm actually seeing the good work that the drivers are doing. I'm actually seeing when the managers come in and the light bulb goes off. I'm actually seeing when Jean Payton talks to the class and she gets done, somebody's standing up hooping and hollering. They asking, when is Jean coming back? I'm actually seeing what the lovely people at Opportunity Village and Easter Seals are doing. And some of the drivers, after they leave there, they come back. They ain't not even working. They off work. They just come back and visit. Because they extend them, hey, if you're ever in the area, you can stop by. So on the off days, they come back. They come there and volunteer. When I'm doing one-on-ones and I'm talking to operators, and when you're having that one-on-one conversation, now they can't get away from it. We had one driver, and I always bring this story up, but the one driver, and he worked there for a couple of years, and we used to always have to write him up for not being sensitive to other needs. A few months later, his body shut down. Now he's on the service. Now he rides right now. But what does he do? He calls and complains. Driver's being mean to me. Driver's being rude. And he's advocating for the other passengers, which is good. He let the driver know, hey, you can't do that. You can't treat him like that. So did he learn? I believe he did. Was it too late? Nope. It's hard when an operator's on their last and final. And you have to make that decision. You have to look into their eyes. Because now all of a sudden, now I get it. I understand, Sandy, I have to be nice. I get it now. Sometimes you have to make the decision like, well, it's too late. But I'm telling you, one day, they're going to go through something. They're going to have a family member or them themselves might have an illness. And I hope they remember the voice of Jean Payton. Hope they remember things that Janae and Opportunity Village have said, or Kenny Rodriguez had to go over there and talk to a person. Or they met Dan Holland or something. I hope they hear those voices. But for now, we just have to just keep talking to them. We have to keep coming up with new ideas and innovative ways to get people to do something that they're supposed to do anyway. It's care about another human being. So we have to let them know. We have to tell them that they're important. And this community, this disabled community is important. Why? Only because they choose not to be a common man. It is their right to be uncommon if they can. They seek opportunity, not security. They do not wish to be a kept citizen, humble and dull for having the state look after them. They want to take the calculated risk, to dream and to build, to fail and to succeed. They refuse to live from hand to mouth. They prefer the challenges of life to the guaranteed of existence, the thrill of fulfillment to the stale calm of utopia. They will never cower before any master, nor would they bend to any threat. It is their disability that makes them stand erect, proud and unafraid, to think and to act for themselves, enjoy the benefits of their creations, to stand and face the world boldly and say, this I have done. Thank you. Any questions?
Any questions for Sandy?
Madam Chair, I have just a comment that the training class has come to Opportunity Village a couple of times, and it's been such a positive experience for everyone, for the individuals we serve, for our staff, for the new drivers. The new drivers have been eager, asking questions, they're engaged, they do call after, they come back, they send emails, they want to learn more. So I think it's been a great asset to the training overall, and it's something that we really want to continue.
Yes, we do.
Great, that's wonderful. The outreach to the clients is really helpful, I think.
Yep.
Super. All right, well, thank you, Sandy, and
Thank
I'm
you for
highly
your time.
embarrassed.
You shouldn't be.
All right. Last thing on the agenda is our second session of public comments. We had some people that signed up. We'll ask them to speak first. Please remember to give your name. You can talk about anything having to do with transit, and please keep your comments to 3 minutes. So the first person is Marion Barber. So Marion, you want to? Are we getting?
Hi, I had two thoughts in mind, but the first thought, and the second thought doesn't matter anymore because you've already covered that subject. The first thought, though, is that I've been speaking with several drivers, and I have conversations with your drivers all the time. But the drivers have told me that they've been working overtime, they've been working really long hours, and the overtime, a lot of times, is forced. They don't want to work that overtime, but they're forced to do it. And I was wondering, I know that you've hired, Transdev has hired new drivers, and they have a training class going on right now. But even so, that this shouldn't be going on an ongoing basis, as it has been. I was wondering what was happening with that.
Marion, I can respond to that and appreciate you bringing that up. And there is validity to what you're saying. Currently, right now, Transdev has 65 trainees that are in training, either just beginning or towards the tail end, where they'll be out on the road very soon. But a big part of what's going on isn't just happening here. The economy is doing very well. Recruitment has become very difficult. People are employed, so finding new jobs, et cetera. So hats off to Transdev with their recent recruitment efforts. We're very pleased with those efforts and looking forward to this new class. And you're right, you don't want staff having to be in a position where they're being forced to work or anything like that, and Transdev certainly doesn't want that, nor does the RTC for our customers. So hopefully those folks will be on the road soon.
Thank you, Dan. All right, the next is John Handy.
You know, one thing I wanted to say to start with, the gentleman had all those figures. Boy, that's great, that's the outcome. And then you say, wait, how did that happen? And the purpose, reason that happens as compared to other cities, as this city seems with everything, they prepare in advance. They don't wait until bad things happen, you know, business things happen. You know, they have their options if this goes wrong. And then the other thing I wanted to say is the ADA planning study. Well, this is really needed. Now, I just got off the SDS bus at the transit center down here, and there were three of us on there with scooters, one in the wheelchair, and I don't know if it's become a problem yet, but it's something I've thought about. If there's going to be so many, what is an option, you know, if it starts to get too full? You don't want people arguing, you know, over stuff like I was first or this and that, you know. And I think it might come to that a little bit. Now, as far as the drivers, the bus drivers, they're very, you know, they're very good. Even when they're in a bad mood, they pay attention to the rules. But the bus drivers here are really good. When something happens, I was in a situation where a young child threw up on the bus, and he knew what to do right away. He stopped the bus, boom, boom, boom. There were some things that happened that didn't work out, but overall, the bus drivers are really good. They are. And then you'll notice a lot of people help each other, too, you know. And I ride the bus almost every day, and I haven't seen any, you know, problems. The only things about bus drivers, and I don't really mean this to be bad, but sometimes their attire could be a little bit better, where they look more proud But, you know, if that's the worst thing that happened, it's like I've told some of my bus driver friends, I said, you know, there's nowhere to go quit in this world, you know. We all have to go forward and, you know, take care of ourselves and so forth. And I think that was about all that I had, you know. So, oh, what is a base program? Well, this isn't important. I'll find out after. Anyway, I think that's all, you know, but the ADA planning I'll participate in and send the ideas in, you know, because there is sometimes with the buses, and I know when that ramp comes down, you know, it isn't, the sidewalk is too short, and it does create a problem, you know, where you could, you know, go backwards in your scooter or wheelchair and fall over if you can't stay on the sidewalk. But most of the drivers, what they do, and they're trained this, is they pull out enough when they pull up, so when that ramp comes down, you know, that it's, that situation doesn't exist, you know, because they were far enough from the curb and know the dimensions of the ramp coming down, so the person that's getting on in a scooter is able, it doesn't have to back up into the ground, you know, into the, somewhere off the cement, you know. Anyway, well, you know, thank you for listening to me.
Okay, well, thank you, John.
Oh.
Is there anyone else in the audience that would like to speak, or anyone on the committee that would like to speak as a citizen? Hearing none, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Dan. We are adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Jimmy, the question I was going to ask you was on Medicaid, all the discussion, my sister's on it. And she